Question 118, a bunch of different parts to this. So question 118 says, you've learned several methods for solving problems with decimals and fractions. As you solve these problems, clearly show all your work. Also show the connection between the parts of the word problems and the parts of your math problems. Be sure to explain what your answers represent in the story. All right, so when we look at question A, Tinanya worked 42.2 hours last week. If she's paid $15.65 an hour, what was her total pay before taxes for the week? All right, so I'm not going to go through and actually do the math. I'm going to leave that up to you. So a couple things on this one. So we know for 1 hour she's paid $15.65. So for 2 hours we'd add another $15.65. For 3 hours we'd add another $15.65. So I think we can just multiply this by 42.2. If you want to, you could add up 15.65 plus 15.65 plus 15.65 plus 15.65 42.2 times, but I think that would take forever. So on this problem, you are going to do 42.2, and you're going to multiply that by 15.65. When you do this problem, make sure, so we just multiply this number like we normally would, and then we have 3 decimal places in the problem, so make sure in your answer you move it back to the left 3 spots. So that would be part A. On part B, Joe has a medicine bottle that is 6 2/3 ounces of liquid medicine in it. If each dose is 1/4 of an ounce, how many doses does Joe have if you use up all the medicine? So here's kind of what I want you to think about. So we've got this kind of bottle of medicine, and this will be my bottle. And altogether, there is 6 2/3 ounces in the bottle altogether. So every dose is 1/4 of an ounce. So let's just say that this is 1/4 of an ounce, and then this is another 1/4 of an ounce, and this is another 1/4 of an ounce, and we can just keep breaking this up into equal pieces. And I know my lines aren't straight, they're not equal pieces, but just imagine. So every single one of these pieces are 1/4 of an ounce. So since we're splitting this up in equal pieces, we're dividing, because anytime we split things up in equal pieces, it's always a division problem. So for this, we are going to take our 6 2/3, and we're going to divide that by 1/4. We want to find out how many equal pieces of 1/4 are in there. As we do this problem, just a reminder on your paper, first thing is anytime you multiply or divide fractions, we got to make them top heavy. So this would now become 20/3 divided by 1/4. And anytime that we divide fractions, remember we keep it. So we write it down the same way. So there's my keep it, 20/3. Change it. So we switch it to multiplication. And then we flip it upside down. And we get 4/1. Now leave it up to you to do the math for this. But it's a division problem because we're taking this whole bottle of medicine and we're breaking them up into equal pieces. Every piece is going to be 1/4 of an ounce. Anytime we break things up in equal pieces, it's a division problem. Part C, if the temperature changes 2.6 degrees each hour for 8.2 hours, how much will the total temperature change? All right, so we're back to this idea. So for 1 hour, it's going to change 2.6 degrees. The next hour, it changes another 2.6 degrees, and then another 2.6, and another 2.6. So we could add up 2.6 plus 2.6 plus 2.6 plus 2.6, 8.2 hours. But instead of doing that repetitive addition, my suggestion would be 2.6 times 8.2. So we go through, we do our multiplication. We would have 2 decimal points in the problem. Remember, we don't line them up. We don't have to line them up when we multiply. We just multiply like 26 times 82. And then since I have 2 decimal places, when I get my answer, I move it back 2 places to the left. All right. D, Jack and some friends climbed Long's Peak in Rocky Mountain National Park. Then he and his friends started down the mountain, losing 1,515 1/4 feet of elevation each hour. So every hour they're going down this much. So they're going down, so that's going to be a negative. So in 1 hour they go down 1,515 1/4 feet in 1 hour. They hiked for 6 1/5 hours, get back down the parking lot. How many feet of elevation did they lose? So every hour they lose this. Well, they hiked for 6 1/5 hours. So we could do this 6 1/5 times. So we could do negative 1,515 1/4 plus negative 1,515 1/4 plus negative 1,515 1/4. We could do that 6 1/5 time. But since we have repetitive addition, we're doing this over and over and over again, 6 1/5 times, then it's a multiplication problem. So we have this times the 6 1/5. All right, so remember, we need to go through, make them top heavy. I would definitely look into some cross canceling because these are going to be kind of some big numbers. So make sure that we take care of that. So we're multiplying fractions because remember, every hour we're going down this much. So, instead of doing this over and over and over again, 6 1/5 times, we could just multiply by 6 1/5. All right, last one. Mr. Solomon, the art teacher, has 49.6 pounds of clay. If he gives every student 1.6 pounds of clay and has none left, how many students are in his class? All right, so I guess I would think about this. So let's say that this is my block of clay, and every student gets 1.6 pounds. So let's just imagine that this much is 1.6 pounds, and every student is going to get the same amount. And imagine these lines are straight, and every one of these represent 1.6. So every single one of these chunks, little chunks I'm making, are 1.6. So once again, we're splitting this up into equal pieces. Anytime we're splitting stuff up into equal pieces, it's a division problem. So right back to this idea of I take the whole thing, 49.6, that's the whole piece, and I'm going to divide it up into 1.6 pieces. I want to see how many of these are in there. How many of these chunks are in there is what this will tell me. Also remember when we're doing this division, when we read this, all right, so here's my division box. So it says 49.6, so we start inside the box. So 49.6 divided by 1.6. When I start this problem, we can't start with a decimal outside, so we have to move it one spot to the right. So I move this one spot to the right, and then we put it up top. And now I'm really just dividing 496 by 16. All right, so hopefully that helps. Make sure you show your work with this. Make sure you work through it. This is that practice that we need.